7-1. That's the ratio of Iowa's swine population to humans. And pigs, they smell, and they smell bad. But the smell that makes up the great state of Iowa doesn't stop at pigs.
It's been this way for since the 90s at least.
I've been in office 6 years and have definitely heard an increase in complaints.
Okay, so what can we do about it? Welcome to What's That Smell? The podcast where we nosedive into the landscape of aromas that make up the smelly state of Iowa. First, we'll start with odor in our homes and communities, then look at how it affects our bodies, and finish with investigating a true story about how scary odor can become. So, take a deep breath and plug your nose for this week. Odor in our homes. From the smell of homemade cake fresh out of the oven, to running over a skunk, to possibly the person sitting next to you right now, smells are all around us. Incredibly enough, humans can differentiate over 1 trillion scents. But the smells we're talking about here are the not-so-pleasant ones. We'll call them odors. In Iowa, there are a lot of odors. Some are caused by industrial plants, animal feeding operations, wastewater, and rock blasting, just to name a few. And these odors are annoying. On a beautiful summer day, I should not have to close my home's windows to get rid of the smell of rotting animals or spray an air freshener every single hour because of the smell wafting into my house. We're in need of a solution. This shouldn't be something we should just deal with. One option is to clean your own air, which is a pretty expensive measure.
Say if you did just have a standard air purifier, many of them just have very small carbon filters for dealing with like the minor odors that people would have in a day-to-day. And in many cases, they will just become, absorb all the odors and then can't absorb any more. So yeah, you have to kind of replace them.
Danny Ashton is the founder of housefresh.com, a website catered to consumers with how-to guides, reviews, and tips concerning air quality. They've reviewed over 70 air purifiers.
I think with odors are tricky because odors aren't picked up by HEPA filters. So you need activated charcoal, and I think it's a challenging thing to deal with.
If you were looking for a sign to throw out that cheap $20 air purifier, here it is.
That's the thing. Activated carbon can be the expensive one. So with the really big ones, the filters themselves might be like $400. And I know with these are the big ones. Say $400 to $300 for these big pounds worth of carbon, just because it is expensive. But those devices probably don't need changing as often. So with the Austin Air, I think it's like 5 years you can go without changing. So it doesn't work out as bad. But obviously that puts off consumers because they think, well, I just want a $20 filter. But the problem is the $20 filter will be changed every 3 months. And by the end, it will all add up. But
it's not just the cost of filters to deal with. Danny says you should have a purifier in every room. I don't know about you, but for me, paying over $100 as a college student is enough to take out a loan. How the heck do I even afford one?
One of the things that we've done is look into a simple DIY air purifier you can get. It's just if you've got a box fan already and a HVAC filter and just attach it, that can do a good job. It does run fairly loud. It isn't as efficient as, say, buying an individual device.
One question remains. Is odor really that bad? It doesn't seem like it when thinking about spending hundreds of dollars or dealing with a constant buzzing noise. That is, until we sit down to relax and are met with a disgusting, rotting, nasty smell. That's when it becomes worth it. Taking a stroll in downtown Des Moines never ceases to be full of aromas. I'm from Wisconsin, so I'm used to the smell of manure, but what I'm smelling here isn't just manure. It's a mix of dog food, death, and rotting flesh. And this comes through our windows. My friend says, you just get used to it, but I haven't. I wonder, shouldn't that be a bad thing that Iowans are simply used to such a terrible smell? Will I come to ignore something that made me want to throw up before? We all know that history repeats itself. We've become compliant to things we would have limited or even hated. We're used to processed foods, constant dependability of electronics, and the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. All things that decades ago would make us sick to think about. The history of odor in Iowa is no different. A 2005 study came and went with no change, and it's been that way for 18 years, almost as long as I've been alive. The odor didn't go away, it was simply ignored. While it's been widely ignored in any practical sense, everybody seems to have an opinion, especially those in the political realm. A representative from Mahaska County, Helena Hayes, experiences this firsthand in both the political realm, but also personally.
My personal experience is, I do live in the country, and they are around me and quite close to me. And so, and they do smell. My neighbors, when we told them that, they said it's the smell of money.
She's on the Environmental Protection Committee and says she has yet to see an odor bill.
There's so many variables in how you would conduct a study like that and the day-to-day conditions and how you measure that. That would be an interesting and difficult thing to do, I would imagine.
Even if the data was collected, she says it would be difficult to do anything about it on her end.
Who gets the say? We try to let counties and cities have a lot of, make a lot of local control decisions. And so some of that is left up to the cities and counties in terms of ordinances. And so for the state to go in and say, press down upon them that this is how everything has to be done is done very, very carefully, because there's a lot of tension between state versus local control, either city or county.
We need an odor study, and that's exactly what Neighborhood Inspections Division Administrator for the City of Des Moines, Dalton Jacobus, is doing.
It's hard to assign a numerical value to odor. So what we're doing is assigning numerical values to compounds that are associated with odor.
Right now, there are 10 odor monitors, as well as a weather station located around 3 major odor contributors: Wickman Pig Company, Pine Ridge Farms, and the Animal Rendering and Fertilizer Plant. The monitors address 3 main components of odor: VOCs, which are volatile organic compounds, hydrogen sulfate, and ammonia. The key to their research is something you wouldn't expect: complaints.
What we're trying to do is bring this all back to like a data-driven system that's going to codify some kind of threshold in our code for an allowable odor threshold.
The more complaints, the more data they can correlate to certain odors, which they can then track to the source based on wind patterns. But this is all specific to Des Moines. What about the bigger picture?
What we're going to do is take the complaint data, find what was going on, where did the plume come from, what was the reading of NH2, NH3, H2S, NH3, and VOC. So what were the readings that caused those complaints? Okay, we can then take those readings and codify an amount not to exceed something about, that much.
The fact is, odor isn't flagged as important to the very people whose job it is to protect our land, air, and water. Iowa's Department of Natural Resources. Odor regulations vary county to county, but right now, there are currently no regulations of odor from the state. So, what do we do about it? The best way you can combat odor is to complain. Trust me, I know this sounds like the complete opposite of what you should do, but it really is the most helpful. More complaints lead to more data, which helps in odor studies. This could bring attention to our leaders in legislation. If we can improve the smell of our communities, it could improve the smell of our homes.
I don't doubt that we are going to improve conditions here based off of what they've been doing. I think that we're going to see significant improvements here this year.
Okay, so we're faced with 2 options: multiple expensive air purifiers or complaining. And if your wallet looks anything like mine, complaining is your best bet. I mean, come on, it's everyone's best bet. It's free. So grab your family and friends and jump onto Iowa's odor report form at dsm.city or call the 24/7, yes, you can complain at literally any time, odor hotline at 515-2486-367. But what happens if you do nothing? Come to find out, odor has some concerning effects on your health. As humans, smells have substantial influences on our cognitive and behavioral processing. Odor could be influencing your anxiety, mood, and perception of pain. We'll save that story for next time on What's That Smell?